Am I the a-hole for bringing my sister-in-law's wallet to the restaurant when she conveniently always forgets it? My female 28, sister-in-law Amy, female 26, always comes to visit from out of town. She stays with us instead of a hotel and always wants to go to expensive restaurants. She always conveniently forgets her wallet or domes up with some excuses as to why she can't pay her share. She has implied that since I make much more money than her, I should be the one to pay. No, not my husband should pay, but me specifically. I do make a fair amount of money, but not so much that I can treat someone every time they come into town. Nonetheless, in the past, I have just paid a bill and asked her to pay me back. She never has. She had made a reservation at an extremely expensive restaurant last night, and before we left, I made it clear that I wouldn't be paying her bill. This is where I might be the a-hole, and I'll admit I got this move straight from an episode of 2.5 Men. As we were leaving, her and my husband went to the car. I pretended I forgot something and went back inside. I found her wallet sitting right on top of her suitcase. I put it in my purse and we went to the restaurant. When we were done eating, I asked for separate bills. She said no. We only need one bill because she forgot her wallet again. I reached in my purse and said, "This wallet?" She was extremely furious. She said that I should not have touched or grabbed her wallet. So am I the a-hole for taking her wallet and bringing it to the restaurant? Now for the top comments before reading the little update. Not the a-hole, but you totally should have flipped the script. Left your wallet at home. Only brought your license, so she had to cover the whole bill. Then never take her out to a restaurant again. Wish I thought of that. Personally, I like the way you did it better. I wish I could have seen her face when she saw the wallet. She made a reservation and invited you. Etiquette says she should be responsible for 100% of that bill, not the a-hole. It's the same principle with the dates. The person who asks and chooses the restaurant, ideally with the other person in mind, then pays the bill, not the a-hole. Not the a-hole. Awesome power move. But when is your husband gonna step up and make her pay her share? They've bullied and manipulated him like this his whole life. He's gotten so used to it that he doesn't see the bigger issue. Old habits die hard. I'm trying to help him stand up for himself, but it's an uphill battle. Fish don't realize they're wet until they got onto land. You need to pluck your hubby from that toxic pond. Opie, you need to mosey over to r/justknowmother-in-law and to a therapist website. I have several cringe mother-in-law stories that I've wanted to post to that sub. I just might do it. Little update. Amy just called me. She saw this post and she yelled at me for bad-mouthing her on the internet. Honestly, I don't care. Amy, hopefully reading all these comments is a wake-up call for you. Next story. Am I the a-hole for kicking my brother out over a joke? I, 25 male, and my girlfriend Ava, 25 female, have been dating for 2 years now, and we recently moved in together. Due to the pandemic starting around the time we began dating, she'd never met my older brother Jared, 36 male, till now. For context, Ava was involved in a pretty bad car crash when she was 16. While stopped at a red light, she was rear-ended by a drunk driver. I've seen the pictures and they are pretty bad, so I'll spare the details. Ava made it out alive with a fractured hip, broken nose, concussion, and some pretty sizable scars. Because of the accident, Ava still goes to physical therapy for her hip and has a bad memory. If it's not written down, it goes in one ear and out the other. Her words, not mine. Yesterday morning, Ava left pretty early for her appointment. She has forgotten her notebook at home, which has all her important info and lists for the day. So when she got home, she was shocked to see Jared in the apartment. It took a minute or so to remind her what was going on. When she remembered, she smiled and went to introduce herself to Jared. Jared laughed at her and said, "I didn't know you were dating the fish from Nemo. At least she's not a fatty." Ava was reasonably shocked by this and tried to continue on with introducing herself. Jared said he didn't need to know her name because he was going to call her Dory. He then made a joke about Ava's scar. She was wearing a tank top, so you can see the scar going from her right shoulder down her arm. The second Jared said that, I got super angry and kicked him out, telling him he wasn't welcome in our house and not to contact me. All day my parents have been calling and telling me I'm overreacting and should apologize and talk to Jared again. Ava's thankful I kicked him out, and our friends agree I did the right thing. I feel bad now, like maybe my reaction was a little out of line and over the top. Am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. I'm not sure why this needs to be said, but defending your girlfriend from ableism is always the right play. Until or unless Jared apologizes genuinely, as in actually understands he was wrong and why. I'd go further and just stop associating with him altogether. Honestly, you would be the a-hole if you just let this slide and acted like nothing happened. Also, who starts saying all this bullying stuff to someone they just met? Oh right, jackass. Not a-hole. Your brother is a huge a-hole. And some other really choice words that would get me in trouble here. I'd go no contact with him over this. There was absolutely no excuse for his bad behavior. And tell your parents that they raised a bad seed, and if they keep defending him, go no contact with them as well. What kind of people enable such atrocious behavior? Defend a horrible behavior and a person perpetuating said bad behavior. Do apples not fall far from the tree, or is he the golden child? He's the God-given golden child who can do no wrong. That explains a lot. Hope his child doesn't take after him. By the way, OP, you should have named him Richard in the post. You know, because he acts like one. Next story. Am I the a-hole for telling my in-laws they have to call before visiting? Recently, my wife 29 female and I 32 male bought a house. I told her family that they are welcome if they want to visit. They just have to ask first. And because we have a newborn baby, I also told them that for now we will be hosting only short visits from the baby's grandparents, with no more than 3 people at the same time. I've never been a social person. I've never visited anyone before asking or being invited, and nobody has ever visited me without asking first. Not even my parents. I thought that was a common rule of basic education, but who knows? That's why I'm asking if I'm the a-hole. As soon as the baby was born, they started coming without asking, staying from morning till evening and regularly making a mess in our kitchen. I told them that we don't need help. I work from home and my wife is on maternity leave, but they are welcome to visit. On Sunday, my wife's parents, siblings, and nieces showed up. We were asleep, and they called like 20 times. After that, they started sending pictures of our entrance saying they're outside. Finally, they woke me up. I went out and told them we were asleep. They wanted to go in, but I assumed they saw my face at a time and just left. Yesterday, my wife was not at home. I was changing the baby's diaper, and suddenly my father-in-law starts to video call me like crazy. I finished baby duties and called him back, and he was angry AF. And yelled at me why wouldn't I open the freaking door. That was it. I waited until my wife came back and talked to her father and mother. I told them that they have to ask/call before coming. My wife's mom freaked out and told me that if she has to call, she'll never come back. My wife's dad was like, dude, I called you like 5 times. So I told him what's the freaking purpose of calling if he does it when he's already outside. It's our home, our rules, our privacy. So they got pretty mad. And that made my wife upset. She agrees with me. Everyone has to call before visiting. We could be busy, or not at home, or not wanting to see anyone at a time. But her parents and siblings seemed so casual about it that I'm starting to doubt if I'm the a-hole. And everyone can show up to everyone's place anytime. Not the a-hole. It's our home, our rules, our privacy. Nail hit squarely on the head. Who has ever told them this is okay? You never show up to someone's house uninvited expecting to go inside, unless you've been explicitly been told that it's okay. And when they have a newborn, is the exact wrong time to do this. Not the a-hole. I think it's basic manners to call before you come. It's your house. They either respect your rules or don't come. That's what I said. Ask them if you need to get your attorney involved. Have cease and desist letters sent to them, restraining orders if needed, as well as their arrests. I totally get you. What's stopping me is that this will hurt my wife and my relationship. Maybe that's what they're looking for. Not the a-hole. Since they are so disrespectful and can't figure out how to call first, I would make a new rule. Her parents are not allowed to visit unless personally invited by you or your wife. They're not welcome. No more self-invites regardless of calls. They can come when they're invited. That's what I said first, but my wife didn't agree. Since this is a marriage, I told her, okay, I'm gonna do my part. They don't have to be invited. They just have to call/ask first, but they still won't. Next story. Am I the a-hole for saying no to helping my sister-in-law's foster kid? I'm 26 male and married to my amazing wife Leah, 25 female, and we are expecting our first baby in November. I'm a foster kid. I aged out of the system after a pretty awful experience with the system. I have trauma. Lots of trauma. It's not something I can talk about easily, and Leah and my therapist are the only people I have opened up to, and I try not to burden my wife with this. She understands and never pushes, but she has told me that I can tell her anything when I need to. Her sister Janet, 33, female, and brother-in-law Michael, 37, male, are foster parents and biological parents. Their first foster kid has been with them for about 4 months now, and the kid is struggling. The kid hasn't told them much about their experience, but they assume, probably correct, that their time in foster care has not been very positive. Janet wanted me to take her foster kid under my wing and speak to them about being a foster kid and basically act like a therapist. She said based on my own history in the system, I would be the best person to help. But I don't feel up for that. I don't think I can deal with someone else's trauma related to foster care on top of my own. And I don't feel like I could talk about my experiences either or bring up my trauma to the child. Janet and Michael did not like my response. Leah and Janet fought. Then Janet and I disagreed very strongly on it. She told me I was an a-hole. And as a grown man and soon-to-be father, I should be willing to help a child. And how can I expect to be a good father when I have so much trauma that I cannot put aside for a child in need? I feel bad about a kid and I feel some guilt. But am I the a-hole? Not the a-hole. This child needs professional therapy, and they have no right to capitalize on your pain for the sake of avoiding that expense. They chose to foster, so this is their responsibility. Put that guilt aside. It's crazy to me because at least in my experiences with the system, the state usually had the kids in therapy anyway, or maybe that was just our situation with my niece. But the kids usually had medical expenses covered, and I thought therapy fell in with that. They need to get this kid professional help for sure. Not the a-hole. They don't understand trauma or the risks that you've been taking with your own mental health. They don't understand that far from finding it helpful, their foster child might be upset by it. If you don't feel able to do it, then setting that boundary is important. I actually think your response shows a lot of self-awareness and was the healthiest one you could make, talking as a former kid of the system. Not the a-hole. You are neither obligated nor frankly qualified to be this kid's therapist or mentor. You would be harming yourself and potentially doing more damage to him than the system already has. This young person needs a proper therapist and or a willing, trained mentor, not a reluctant layman who just happens to be handy and to have suffered some similar trauma. I have never been in the foster system, so this is partly guesswork and partly observation of peers who were in the system. One of the things the system seems to strip away and discard is the ward's sense of privacy. Strangers often know your story, sometimes pieces of it that you don't, and you don't get a choice. Your sister-in-law's request is another example of that disregard, however well intended, for the concept of confidentiality. Now, for the last story, am I the a-hole for not helping my sister with her IVF solely because of her husband? My 34 female sister Meg, 31 female, cheated on my ex-brother-in-law, Josh, with his best friend Liam. They did it for over 4 years until Josh found out and broke up. Liam and Meg have been officially together for 5 years now. My ex-brother-in-law has been my best friend since elementary school, and my sister knew him through me. And despite me saying it would make things uncomfortable, she insisted on hitting on him until he noticed and they started dating. My relationship with Meg took a toll on me because I was annoyed with her for doing this to my best friend, but we never cut contact because of my nephew, her son with Josh and my godson. 1 year ago, I received a large amount of money from inheritance, and because I have a good financial condition, I decided that half would go to help my parents and siblings. My parents received 50% and my 4 siblings, 12.5% each. My parents decided to renovate the house. 2 of my brothers paid off their house debts. Meanwhile, my other sister asked if she could pay for IVF treatment with her girlfriend with that money, and I said yes. At no instance did I control how they wanted to spend their money. Well, Meg was super happy with my help and talked about paying for IVF with Liam because of his infertility, and I hesitated. I'm still best friends with Josh, and I can tell you what they did with him cost years of therapy to get him to start thinking about dating someone. I don't talk to Liam 99% of the time, and I only helped my sister, because after all, she had my nephew. I didn't go to the wedding, and I always made it very clear that it wasn't a relationship I would support, but they are free. So I told her that I didn't feel comfortable giving her the money for this, as it involves Liam, her and their relationship specifically, so I'd rather help in some other way. Renovate house, pay off debts, or refurbish the house, and that I would take double care that the money didn't go to that. She started screaming, telling me to get over something that had nothing to do with me, and that was years ago, and that I was treating her and my other sister differently because of the past. We argued a lot, and I decided to create a fund for my godson that only he could handle at age 18 instead of helping her. Well, this created even more mess because she claims that I helped everyone but her and that I was cruel in denying helping her to have another child when they can't naturally. I really don't feel comfortable doing this. Am I the a-hole? By the way, they didn't receive this inheritance. She never received the money because it went to my nephew's fund before she ever received. Well, I'll put it here. They told me about the plans. I didn't ask, just because they were excited. After I told them at a family dinner about the money, I said, you can renovate your house, pay your debts, and my other sister asked if she could use it for something else, IVF, on another day. So Meg found out, then talked to me before I gave any money. Not the a-hole. It's your inheritance money. You can get to choose what to do with it. I think setting up a fund for your nephew is a brilliant idea. If she wants another kid so bad, she can go cheat on Liam. Haha, that's awesome. OP, not the a-hole. Your money. I like the trust fund idea. Not the a-hole. Okay, so you are treating your two sisters differently. So what? One of them didn't put your best friend through the ringer. The money is yours. You could have chosen to keep the money. You could have given it to Josh, an arts museum, or the local animal shelter. Meg doesn't have any say in what you do with the money. If she really wants another child, she could try adoption. Also, by helping her nephew, by proxy OP is still helping her sister. Meg is so obsessed with starting a new little family that she's forgetting about the son she already has. Her pouting about the money going to her son is indicative to the quality of her parenting. If she cannot afford IVF, then she cannot afford another child. Sorry. Absolutely not the a-hole. I hope Josh is doing better.